Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we have one final group of candidates that we would like to visit with this evening. And these two candidates may have the closest connection to Hunters Creek. And they are our candidates for the Orange County Commissioner District 1 seat this year. There are two candidates, including the incumbent, and they are both here with us tonight. So thank you both for being here, and thank you for your patience in waiting to speak with us this evening. We are going to kick things off with Mr. Austin Arthur. Thank you.
So I hated school because my name was with an A and I always had to go first. So the only good thing is on the ballot I'll be first. So that's a plus. But thank you guys. My name is Austin Arthur, as was mentioned. And that's Tracy over there. She's my campaign manager and she's amazing. Give her a round of applause. She's always working so hard. We love her. And she's passing out these papers here. I got everybody papers today, real nice. I designed them myself. And I'm going to kind of use that as a tool for our conversation. But you could give them to the candidates too if you want, Tracy. They could follow on, just not my opponent. You know, I don't want her to see my secrets. Just kidding. So my name's Austin Arthur, and I'm a kind of a local guy here in West Orange County. I was a firefighter paramedic for a time period, and that is because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My dad told me that wasn't a job, so I had to get a real job and then try to do business, and I did with my brother Xander. And we have a marketing firm in West Orange County, right by the West Orange Chamber of Commerce. We've been with that marketing firm for about 12 years now. And we also, this will sound a little left field, but we opened a gymnastics center. And so we come from a gymnastics background. That's how my mom and dad met, through gymnastics. My brother and I were gymnasts. He was a much better gymnast, and it's very obvious because he looks like me, but like really strong. So 2.0 Austin. And we opened this gymnastics center together in Winter Garden and grew it over time. And it's actually the biggest gymnastics center in the state of Florida now. It's called Gymnastics USA. And so with the businesses, as they became more autonomous, I started just to get more involved in the community. And with that comes, people start asking you to help out. If you volunteer with an organization long enough, they ask you to see if you could join the board. So I serve on a lot of community boards, 12 of them I think it is now, including the West Orange Habitat for Humanity, Children, 8 Ways Children and Family Services, Challenge 22 to End Veteran Suicide, and many others. And that's kind of the journey of how I got before you here today. You do a lot of work with government and you start to pay attention more. And I just felt that there was a lot of things going wrong in Orange County. And so my original intent is kind of like Rep Harris there, is I was trying to find somebody else to run, and I thought we needed a change. And so I was basically bribing all my friends to run, that my marketing firm would do all their stuff for free. Well, not for free, Commissioner. It would be in-kind contribution, nothing unethical. So, but all of them said no. They kept on telling me no, that they don't want to do it, and that maybe I should do it. And somebody mentioned today, if you got a problem and you don't want to solve it yourself, then you better stay quiet. So being paramilitary with the firefighter deal there, I knew that if I was going to complain about a problem and I wasn't ready to step up to the plate, then I should stop complaining. So talked to my wife, talked to my pastor, my brother, who's my best friend, and talked to my widowed mother, and they all agreed. That's kind of like my board of directors for my life there, and they all agreed I should do it. So here we are. I actually jumped in July, or February rather, of 2023. So it's been a long haul. But I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our district, specifically Hunters Creek. This document is for Hunters Creek, and because our district is very big, we have 250,000 residents in this district. And for example, the other municipality that's furthest from you is Oakland, and that's pretty far from you and pretty different from you. So when I talk to Oakland, I talk about Oakland things, and when I talk to Hunters Creek, I want to talk about Hunters Creek things because you guys have a unique a situation down here. And so one of the things that I've noticed, there's really, I kind of narrowed it down to what I've experienced when I'm talking to people. You know, you knock on doors and you talk to people. And in Hunters Creek, it seems to me that the issue is, it is a lot with development, and that's kind of across the whole entire west side right now. I know that we have a lot of flooding issues that are looming here, especially as you see more and more development come, just especially on John Young Parkway. And then we have the Shingle Creek development. All these developments are very concerning and will exacerbate that problem with flooding. And you also have a traffic concern, of course, and that's something that you see all across Orange County, is that we don't have an infrastructure first mentality, and I think that really needs to change, and the question is how we do it, of course. The other thing is you have a lot of cut-through traffic issues with speeding, and I know that the SO has a task force now, and that's improved upon in terms of the drag racing and stuff. but that's a good thing to hear. But in terms of some solutions in my approach, the thing that may be different or not different, well, one thing I'd like to continue is I love the thing that you guys have been doing for 20 years when the county comes and the commissioner comes and the mayor. I think that that's really the right approach, and I love that Hunters Creek does that with the Orange County Commission and the rest of the government. One thing that I see as a very stark difference of the way that the county commission is going right now is it seems to me that the government's getting a little bit bigger instead of leaner. So as you guys might be aware, the commission decided to give itself a 25% pay increase. And I think that's probably not a good idea. And that was on the heels of them getting more staff for themselves. So that's also not good. So we have more pay, more help. And then now what will be on your ballot, which I'm totally against, is the expansion of the Orange County Board of County Commissioners to expand it to 2 more commissioners. And I'm against that because I am for lean government. And I think that if we just got a 25% pay raise, we just got more staff on to help the individual commissioners, we don't need to also dilute their work by 27%. In business, I would be out of business if I had that mentality. I don't know why government seems to work that way, but that's probably the reason why government's so inefficient. So that's a big issue for me. I think we need to look at that. Also, with regard to some of the projects that have some of the stuff that has been going on in Hunters Creek. One of them is very well known to all of you with the 417. You had the Bright Line issue. And I see that as a shining example. And we're lucky that that went the right way. But it really had a lot to do with, one, Universal and the iDrive Chamber stepping it up. But more importantly and more powerfully, all of you, the Hunters Creek residents, really stepped up to the plate and pushed back on that, pushed back on the idea of that rail going right through your community. And I think that that's a perfect example of where a commissioner really should get involved and be a proper liaison and representative of the people. So I wish we would have saw that a little bit more. The golf course issue, I think that that's something I've been learning about a lot, and another good opportunity for your commissioner to get involved, although they might not have a direct say over the issue, of course, but to wield an influence. And the other thing I want to talk about is, in terms of approach, is making sure that we have a seat at the table. And I feel that for the last several years we don't. And what I mean by that is you have a big development problem going on in Orange County. It's really especially on the west side where you have so much development and not the infrastructure to support it. So what's the approach? I think the approach cannot be that we have a pseudo policy that we don't really talk with developers, or we don't talk to most developers. That's been a big complaint of people and the stakeholders in this world. And I'll tell you what happens when you do that is when you don't negotiate with people and you don't meet them. Well, what keeps happening in District 1 is we get the development anyway, every time our seat gets outvoted, and we get no infrastructure improvements on it. And that's because you're not negotiating. So in business, you negotiate, you stay at the table. That's why we had the Cold War, because we kept negotiations going, even though we disagreed. It didn't go to a hot war. So I think that that's the wrong approach. That's something I'll do very differently, is we need to be meeting with all the stakeholders and negotiating. Because if we're going to get the development, we got to make sure that these developers do their part to ensure that we have better infrastructure in it. And they will do stuff if you put their feet to the fire. So I think that's a big, important concept. And then finally, I'm a super available person. I'm always around West Orange County. And you can have my cell phone. It's right there on that paper. You could text, call me. Anytime, I'll be there. And I think that that's just a big principle of mine with all the volunteerism I do and stuff. I'm just kind of used to buzzing around town. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. In terms of the campaign itself, we've got tremendous support. We have almost every single mayor in West Orange County has endorsed our campaign. The vast majority of all the commissioners, especially at the municipal level. And we love to see that. And I think that what that is showing is that people are hungry for kind of a partnership mentality with the county, especially our municipal governments. And you guys are almost like a municipal government. You guys are so doing a better job than a lot of municipal governments, actually. So, I think that that's something that also needs to change. You got to have a partnership mentality, including with Tallahassee. So Tallahassee famously keeps on slamming down and punching in the face Orange County government. And I think that when you treat somebody like an enemy, they're going to respond like an enemy. So we need a voice in Orange County that can work with those that particular party that is very harsh on Orange County. And Rep. Rita Harris knows what I'm talking about. She talked about how she's in the den there with them. So you got to be able to talk to them and work with them to stop the interventions, because I am a small government guy. I think that it is quite bizarre that the Republican Party is taking away home rule all the time. I'm not for that, and it needs to change. And I think the way you change that is you go with a little bit more honey, a little less vinegar. It's like my mom used to say, you kill them with kindness, and if that doesn't work, you just kill them. But we're not going to do that. She actually did tell me that. But so that's a little bit of my approach. We have made it onto the ballot. We're the first candidate in the district to make it onto the ballot to qualify through what they call the pre-qualification process. We did that today. Was that today? Okay, my days bleed together. It's so busy. But we did that, and we're very excited for that. And we are what they call the people's choice. And what I mean by that is we got all on the ballot, not by paying a big fat fee. We got to be responsible with the campaign dollars. We got on the ballot by petition. So we had over 1,800 people submit petitions, and we submitted that to the supervisor of elections. So we are on the ballot by petition, and we enjoy that. So with that, I will open it up to any questions. Like I said, I'm super available. The good thing is that I am not running for these other seats. This is a little bit more of a nice conversation because all plan originally, and so those promises are just being fulfilled. In the aggregate, that's true. So in terms of specifics, I agree with you. I don't think that any part of our district should be neglected, and you're dead on to ask me that question because that is exactly the role of the county commissioner to prioritize different things within the district and not specialize certain parts of the district. I live in downtown Winter Garden. I love it there, but we can't just focus on downtown Winter Garden because that's where I live. We got to focus on all the district. So that's why I'm available. I'd love to actually, if you're willing, meet with you. You have my cell phone number. You come show me that park. I'm going to learn all about it from you. That's why I'm here, and that's what I intend to do: is be a good representative and to learn about the issues. And you can only do that if you're available. If you can't show up, you're not going to learn. So what I can promise you, if you're willing, I'd love to get your number, and I'd love to come down here with you and learn all about it and help to prioritize the parks here, even the ones you might have to pay for in the HOA. I'm sure there's something that could be done down the road.
Okay, then I have another question.
Make it easy. No.
Yeah. So
kidding.
I have family that lives in Horizon West. I work there sometimes. The roads and the traffic, like my family over there needs help.
Yeah.
They need lots of help because the traffic on Avalon,
Yeah.
Seidel, Western Way to go, it's like terrible.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk too much about Horizon West. We got the Hunters Creek here, but I will tell you, you're dead on, and it's about prioritization. Once again, the commissioner could step in to help with that priority. Now, they're not the master of everything. They're not the king of District 1, right? But they are the liaison. So you can work with staff to help prioritize projects, be aggressive. If you need easements, you got to be talking to those people and do your part to help get those easements and things like this. A lot of those roads are already promised to be funded and everything. So it is about prioritization in a lot of cases. But you're right with Avalon, it's crazy. There's this road called Fleming's Road along Avalon that would bring much needed relief to and from Lake County and Orange right there off of Avalon.
Well, with my family living over there, I chose Hunters Creek because I know some people might say it's traffic, but we don't have it as bad as like Lake Nona, Winter Garden.
Everything's comparative.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Yeah. So there's a 100-foot gap between this road and Lake County and Orange County. And it's, I think when I started running, it was like 2.5 years away. I guess it's a year and a half away now, but that's just a big issue. So I agree. You need an aggressive commissioner that's going to be out there. Once again, you got to be out there. You got to be talking to everybody. You got to be talking to all the stakeholders, not just the ones you like. And that's how you're going to get things done. And that's how we're going to change things. We're going to treat it more like a business and less like a government. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for hanging in there. We have one final candidate who is here to speak with you today, and this is incumbent Nicole Wilson for the Orange County Commissioner District 1 seat. We've lost our Facebook Live feed. We've lost our overhead, and we're on generator power right now. So yes, it is going to get warm in here. So just hang on with us, please. Thank you. Huh?
Do you have any reports on the area?
No, I do not.
All right, listen, I did not pay the maintenance man, okay?
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's funny because I'm like going into commissioner mode, like, okay, I need to email really quickly to find out if there is something going on in the area. Okay. Thank you. So, how are y'all doing tonight? Thank you for being here. I know that this is that time of year that for people like me, I'm a non-politician who is in a political seat. It's uncomfortable. Like I got uncomfortable earlier, and I know I need to be comfortable with this because you're worth it. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for continuing to show up to these things and caring enough to be uncomfortable and have these conversations, even if we disagree, because civility is number one, right? We're going to make sure we're civil and we treat each other with great respect. And number two, we are all Americans and Floridians and Orange County residents. Sorry for Osceola people. And those things are enough for us to all be able to really get a lot done. I know this is not a debate, but I cannot help myself because I am the very last person to go. It's a point of privilege to be able to rebut some of the information that my challenger did put out there. I know where Brandon Coast Park is. I've been in negotiations with Duke Energy for 3 years over that road. They own that. So the roadway in, we own the park, and I mean you, the people, own that park. But the roadway in is Duke Energy, and they were kind enough to donate the easement to us through negotiations. But the contingency was that we could not put an impermeable surface on it. And so what we're in negotiations with them now is because every year or so, there are better technologies that come out for surfaces that will allow permeable through. So we're in negotiations with them on a new surface. So we can talk about this also, but just know that that is something that has been an item of many, many meetings. I want to introduce myself, Nicole Wilson. If you have not met me, I would jump right into the issues because I care very much about them. I am a Florida girl, born and raised in Gainesville Road, and the best decision that I ever made with my husband 26 years ago when we got married was moving here and raising our 3 children here. And all 3 of them were successful products of Orange County Public Schools, and they're actually all out now pursuing their post-secondary interests and career paths, and it makes me very proud. But I do have the same thoughts about what we're leaving and how we're making sure to do the best we can to leave the next generation with everything they have. And I entered this, like some of these people here tonight, because I didn't want to sit back and just complain. And I was really worried. I was worried about development and what was happening. My actual career background, my undergraduate degrees in psychology and human services. And what do you do with that? You go to law school. And so in law school, the thing that I fell in love with was the idea that we can get to things with law and order, that we can actually work on things with laws, and it can make people's lives better, not worse. Now, the reality is that sometimes laws, it's like other documents that we know of that are manipulated, or there are parts that aren't enforced. And so what I was seeing as a resident for many, many years were things like our protected lands given away, right? I got jumped into this because we had a piece of parkland that was up for grabs for a toll road to a development. So it wasn't even going to benefit the public. And it was a protected piece of parkland. So I thought, okay, when we come to talk to the commission, they're certainly going to listen to the residents about this. And we came and we had a good legal argument. There was legal experts in the room, environmental and scientists in the room, and they didn't care. They kept marching forward with that development and that roadway. And so I made the decision that day to throw my hat in the ring. And that was 2019. And 2020, we shut down. Now, they didn't shut down the work on cutting through that park, but that's a whole different conversation. And I can come back out if you guys ever want to talk about that one. But it started my tenure. So there was a year there where I worked really hard to try to just figure out how to take care of people in a place and a time that we'd never had before, and trying to get people health care and trying to get people transportation when we couldn't use transit because buses were scary because everyone was together. It was a really scary time. And the thing that I went back to again and again and again was you all, my residents. My residents stayed in touch with me. I believe in the power of collective thought and reasoning. I believe in leading with love and not with fear. And I believe in democracy. So things you're never going to hear from me. I don't have any special interests backing me. I got no sneaky pack. I have a very modest little campaign, which is why I don't have anything fancy with me. But that's what you want. You want your representative to be about the actual work, right? So I may not pick up the call when you call me, but it's because I may be meeting with another individual or some other person that it needs me right then. One of the things I also want to address, and this was something that I think is a really important piece of democracy, is that Orange County is a charter county, which means every 4 years we actually have a charter review commission. And those are citizens, they're volunteers. So fortunate that we have these volunteers that sit on these commissions. They can take up any issue they want to take up. And one of the issues they took up this year was the potential need for additional commissioners. That is not a county commission decision. I don't support it because I like my district and it would be hard for me to lose any piece of my district, but it's not up to me. It's a democratic decision and it's up to you. And so when that goes to the ballot, consider it. Consider everything on the ballot. And I would ask you to do your work and check the resumes. Find out what are the whys for the people who are running and why are they there. For me, like I said, I was really concerned about our air, our water, what was happening in what I felt like was a very corrupt system of land use, where we were seeing our elected officials take their money out of your hand, and put it into their own pockets because they're landowners and they had development interests. And so that's not me. That's not me. And I just feel like at any given time, they're still out there. So just know if you have a question about my integrity, I'm here to answer that. I'm all about transparency. I'm about my availability. When I try to get out here, I know that Hunters Creek didn't have the chance to hear me last week because I had a family emergency, but we're human also. And so I asked for, that continued dialogue with you all. I would tell you that I am not a politician. So after this next 4 years, I will likely go back to my comfortable life where I got to pick and choose my clients, right? It was a great life. This isn't something that I think I see long term. But it is we get 2 terms in county commission, and it's worth me laying every single thing I have out there to try to do everything I can do for the future of West Orange County. I believe my resume over the last 3.5 years is strong. We passed finally a fertilizer ordinance that prevents poisonous runoff from going into our rivers and streams. We passed a conservation effort for Green Place that funds conservation lands all over. Shingle Creek is one of the biggest reasons why we needed that re-upped. We passed a tree ordinance that'll protect tree canopy from new development and existing canopy so that we can keep our areas clean and green. But we still have more that's coming. I have a special protection area for Shingle Creek that is part of our Vision 2050 comprehensive plan update. And so that'll be coming around the corner. And that second term is critical for me to get those things across the finish line. So I ask for your support. I ask for you to work with me shoulder to shoulder on these issues because I can't do it without you. I don't want to do it without you. And I appreciate you being here and being an interested person in our community. Thank you.
Any questions for Nicole? We have time for a couple of questions.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here. This has been a great evening. I just wanted to clarify one thing, and maybe I misunderstood the earlier conversation. The Deputy Brandon Coates Park is owned, operated, and maintained by Orange County Parks and Recreation.
That's
it's
right.
not a Hunters Creek Park.
That's right.
Okay, well, I thought I heard someone say it was a Hunters Creek Park.
No, that is,
Okay, well,
what I was saying was that Duke owns the.
They own the roadway, yeah.
And so that's the part that we're negotiating, trying to get a different surface for because the existing impermeable surface is.
So my question is, what is your position on the Charter Review Panel's proposal to recommended by their subcommittee's rural boundary amendment? According to a Mr. Grimmer on the panel, this is needed to check destructive suburban sprawl. As stated in the June 1st Orlando Sentinel, this aims to protect rural lands by adding rules and language to make it harder to develop acres in unincorporated Orange County outside urban areas. But isn't this how and why the city of Orlando is annexing 11,000 acres of unincorporated Orange County to build what is being touted as another Lake Nona? One of their councilmen recently said Tavistock would rather do business with Orlando than Orange County. So I found that counterproductive. So with that being said, what are you and the Orange County government doing to protect and prevent more dense housing and protecting our wetlands in District 1? There are over 9,000 apartments proposed to be built in various areas within several miles of where we're standing right now. The traffic is overwhelming.
Okay, wait, these are so many different questions. Can I answer first?
Sure.
Okay, so because it's going to be a really important one, right? So the Charter Review Commission was preempted specifically from that question. So a citizen panel, the state of Florida, and a Republican senator, Blaise Ngolia, where is he from? Spring Hill, Pasco County, right? It's Pasco County, decided to put forward an amendment last minute to preempt Orange County, specifically Orange County. There was no other county that was debating a rural boundary in the Charter Review Commission. But specifically, it dealt with citizen impaneled charter commissions, which means that the Orange County Commission can still take it up as an issue, and we did on Tuesday. And one of the reasons why we think it's important, and I think it's been misconstrued largely by development interest, is that the boundary itself, it's already there. Orange County has a comprehensive plan. It's a plan that you can look at the map and it shows you exactly what the future land use is. There are urban boundaries in place right now that everything outside of that does not yet have sewage, doesn't yet have water, and requires more infrastructure investment. That is the line that they were looking at using for this urban rural boundary. So what we are doing as a commission now is taking up the exact same topic and looking at a potential ballot measure. So once again, I'll come back to you, the people, and you'll be able to decide whether it's important to you that if a development plan comes forward that changes the density and intensity of that particular parcel that's in the rural boundary, outside the rural boundary, that it requires a supermajority vote, that it can't be a sweeping vote, or it can't be a close vote, right? We've had these large mega developments where residents stand at the microphone, and ask questions until 1 a.m. And then it comes down to, one vote. And sometimes that particular district commissioner who has heard from their residents is on the losing side. And so the intent was to really bring it back to the people and ask the people, would a supermajority potentially level the playing field a little bit? And, I hope that it makes the ballot. I think it's a great idea to allow district commissioners, or allow really the majority, to have extra scrutiny when it's something that's going to cost all of us more. So everything that's outside that urban service area is going to cost us more. So we end up paying for that development. And so I think to me, it's extra scrutiny, extra eyes on that type of intensity and density. Now, the existing future land use that's in the comprehensive plan would never change. That's not part of that ballot measure. I hope that answers that question.
It does.
Wetland code went into effect. What is today? Today's on the 1st, which is, by the way, it was 30 years overdue. It wasn't until I got into office and started pushing for understanding what we know for science into policy, right? So we've got science and policy, and they were not doing the same thing. And it took the better part of the last 3 years to make sure that every piece of that ordinance was data-driven and used in a way that protected property rights, allowed good development, and incentivized anybody that's coming in to do housing to avoid the wetlands, to make sure that they are doing their part. Now, your community here, what an incredible thing that there was participation in your own water storage within your community. And it's a model. I use the model that Hunters Creek has used and with communities that have private HOA stormwater, because to me, using that as a benefit, as something that can be amenitized, that can be beautiful, is what we should be doing with all of those. So yes, that is stormwater, its own update. Wetland code just went into effect this week. And we had a tree ordinance that I started working on day one that went into effect March 15th. And what that does will actually also help with the flooding, because we're losing our straws, right? Trees are straws. They hold water and erosion. And when we clear cut before development, or when we don't preserve that canopy, and especially out here, you have the cypress domes that do a really good job of holding in that water, then we're risking huge flooding problems. And the county for years and years and years was doing this crazy thing where they'd pull out the wetland and then put in a retention pond, and that retention pond wasn't big enough. And then we wondered what the problem was. There's no magic wand for that type of development pattern. But every opportunity I get, I do sit down and negotiate. Hey, I know that the county only requires you to retain this much water. Could we do something that protects this additional piece of wetland and makes it an amenity? It's going to make this a more beautiful neighborhood. And I've had success with that. I have conditions of approval that have gone in some of these development plans that included preserving trees, amenitized storage ponds, and other types of benefits for the environment.
Okay, but getting back to what I was saying, I appreciate your answers. We've got 9,000 apartments going to be built close here. All that right along Shingle Creek. All that water runs off Shingle Creek, and it backs up into my neighborhood in Chalfont, floods our local roads. I mean, when does it stop? We want the same protections. I think we deserve the same protections that the people in the rural boundaries are asking to stop. We got traffic.
No, you do.
We
That's
got
what I'm
noise.
saying.
We got everything.
Yeah, 100%.
But when does it stop? That's the crux of the issue.
Well, no, and I think it's a really good question, because I think the part that is so important for understanding the trajectory, right? I came in 2020. I think there's only been one, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because you have great representatives that come to these meetings. And I alert your community anytime there's a development program coming through that I'm worried about the intensity or density, so that people can give me their feedback. I think we've only had one that's come through since I've been a commissioner, which means that those were all entitled by my predecessor and her predecessor, who is, by the way, his primary backer. So there is, we're talking about a long history of these entitlements that don't come on board sometimes until years later. And so what we need to do is spend our resources making sure that we've got Shingle Creek completely protected, which is part of the Green Place initiative, making sure that our stormwater updates include all of our natural canal systems that are out here. And it's going to be I believe a push and a pull with those entitlements, because property owners do have the power and ability to build what they were promised to build when they buy their property. So what we have to do is hold their feet to the fire on contributing to the solution. Impact fees, impact taxes were not increased for 15 years before I got into office. That's the developers, how they pay in for those things, right? For transportation, for actually even law enforcement. And it was stagnant. My predecessor, their predecessor, it was stagnant. We finally raised those impact fees in 2021. They went into effect in 2022. But you know what the impact is? We're now 15 years behind on that.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But thank you for your time. I appreciate your answers.
I have to cut off the questions.
I do not know the Zigglers either.
Thank you. Answers that question. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. I'm sorry to cut things. I know that other folks had questions. Oh, that's mine. Perhaps Nicole or any of the other candidates you may have questions for might hang around a little bit and meet with you in the mezzanine, but we do have to wrap things up. Need to be fair to all the folks who spoke tonight and give them equal time. So I just want to thank all of these candidates for investing in this community with your time, with your attention, staying with us here tonight, listening to your colleagues and constituents speak. I think it's important to all of us, and I certainly appreciate all of the residents of Hunters Creek who showed up tonight and stayed for the duration of this presentation. Thank you very much. I think this is going to become part of our regular repertoire. We appreciate you. Thank you.